Hi, welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville. I've been a little bit slack over the last couple of days, not putting out videos as fast as I would have hoped or was planned or as regularly. In my defense, I've been helping look after my granddaughter for the last week, and frankly, she's more important to me than watches, and she's been getting more of my attention. I have been working, though, slowly but surely on getting my review ready for my Boulder expedition. That should be up in the next few days. But in doing that and doing some prep, it became obvious to me that there's parts of watch reviews other people cover that I either don't cover much, or if I do cover, I don't give a lot of weight to. I don't often spend a lot of time like taking photos of that particular aspect. And this is not necessarily a polemic. I'm not trying to convince you that what I don't care about isn't important and you shouldn't. More a fair warning. If you are looking at my videos and one or more of the things I'm about to talk to is really important to you, you better make sure that you go and see some other videos, because I probably won't cover them much, or if I do, I won't give them the kind of weighting that you might expect. Okay, some obvious ones that I don't cover much at all. The first is packaging. I don't care at all about packaging. In fact, if anything, I probably go the reverse. The more packaging, the more ripped off I feel. I like Seiko's tiny little nondescript box with a pillow, and inside it the watch and a card. That's pretty much all I want from packaging. Anything more than that is A, something I don't want to pay for, and B, just wasted resources that I'd rather the watch company not spend. I won't cover packaging much at all. Next, let's talk about lume. I don't really talk about lume much. I'll mention that it's there or that it's not. Probably the only times I might talk about it in detail is if that lume is particularly spectacular, as it is on, say, the Oris Diver 65, or if the watch is kind of tricking you into thinking there's going to be a lot of lume, but there actually isn't, like there is on my Seiko Neo Sport. So where there's something exceptional about the lume, I might bring it up, but generally I'll simply say it's got lume, it's within industry standard, and then move on. Next, I hardly talk about bracelets at all. To be honest, in my watch journey, I've not really concentrated on bracelets. To this day, maybe to my shame, but I don't care. I couldn't tell you the difference between a Jubilee and a Jubilee and an Oyster bracelet. I don't care. I expect I'm probably going to remove the bracelets anyway and replace it with a NATO. So unless there's something particularly special about it, I will talk about the bracelets. I'll give you some idea of what they are, but they don't factor a lot into my consideration of whether a watch is good, bad, or indifferent. I have definitely mentioned this before. I don't care about resale value. Resale value will crop up a little bit in terms of when I talk about the authenticity or the social power of a watch. But in my mind, my watches are a luxury. And for me, as soon as I have to worry about resale value or give the watch a purpose, such as any kind of investment, it ceases to be a luxury. So I don't buy a watch thinking I'm going to sell it. I don't buy a watch thinking it's going to have any other purpose than making me happy. Therefore, I don't really even think about resale value, and I don't talk about it in my videos. Another thing I won't care about much is the concept of being first. Now, what I mean by that is there's an awful lot of watch reviewers who care deeply about who was the first person to have exposed screws, or who was the first person to have a bezel with that particular kind of finish. And then what they do is they want to pin that down so that they can then label every other watch that uses a similar feature as a homage. Now, one, I think that destroys the meaning of the word homage, so hence that's a word I won't use much, if at all, in any of my reviews. And two, it betrays a total misunderstanding of the design process and the way design works. And I think it just eliminates all nuance from the concept of how a design is evolved and how that turns into a watch. I prefer a topic I call authenticity, which is how true to history and design a watch is, and that gives you a lot of flexibility without having to say, this was the first watch to ever do this, therefore this is the OG and everything else is a homage. I think that's a fairly pointless exercise, so I don't indulge in it. I don't worry about the accuracy of watches over much. I do care a little bit about the specifications. I care a little bit about what the watchmaker said the watch will do. I think that's kind of important because that's a basis upon which anyone buying any particular watch could expect their watch to fall. I'm very conscious of the fact that the sample-to-sample variability of watches, all watches, seems to be quite significant, both between watches and between a single watch at different points in time in different positions. Therefore, me taking my particular watch in a couple of positions, putting on my particular time grapher and giving you a number effectively says nothing about any version of the watch you might have or how you might use it. Therefore, I tend not to do that sort of stuff. I will talk about you've bought an ETA that's of a certain grade and you can expect a certain range, but I think as a watch reviewer, that's about all I can usefully tell you. The next point is I don't get too fussed about chasing the lowest possible price you can get for a certain set of specifications. I'm not really that interested in the specs of a watch whose design I don't love. So for me, it all starts with, do I love the design? Do I love the way it looks? Do I love the way it feels? Then only after that do I start worrying about how much it's going to cost and whether it satisfies some arbitrary spec sheet. So for me, it all starts with how much I like the watch. And once you go that way, I find that if you decide you like the watch and the watch is within a price range that you can afford and is broadly comparable in value, whether it's up $100, $100 kind of becomes a little bit irrelevant. If you really like the $800 watch as opposed to the $600 watch, no amount of savings is going to make that cheaper watch something you want. So I don't really chase every last dollar in reviewing watches. I'll tend to talk watches will cost about this much, you can expect to pay about this, and just talk about whether that's value or not. And I won't really do a lot of comparisons unless there's something glaringly different between watches. So that's it. That's a really quick video. I wasn't intending to, like I said, I'm not trying to convince you. If you're in a different position, if you look at watches a different way, if different things are important to you, that's fine. That is absolutely legitimate. There is no single set of rules about what's important about watches. I just wanted to make it clear what's important, what's not important to me, but which, looking at other videos, clearly is important to other people, and give you a heads up that I probably won't cover them in detail. That's it. I've been Pete McConville. This has been Not So Obvious Watches. If you wait a little while, a card's going to come up. It's got my Instagram handle and it's got an email address. Feel free to contact me on the email address. I'm trying to build up the Instagram following that there. I tend not to do watch checks. Oh, in fact, I forgot to even put a watch on before this video. If you want to know what I own and what I'm wearing and other little bits and pieces about my life, go follow me over on Instagram. That would be great. DM me there if you'd like to get in contact as well. Yeah. I should say, please subscribe to this channel. That would also be great. It helps me build the channel, gives me motivation to keep going on, and just all in all is helpful for me and hopefully helpful for you. Bye.